It had been 432 days since Eli Trask had spoken to a real person. He marked the number with a jagged scratch on a rusted dashboard, just below a blinking alert light. Error 77, air filter degraded, and beside a peeling sticker of a smiling octopus holding a wrench. What used to be a research base on outpost data, now moaned like a dying machine. Floating debris, an overturned chair, a bent wrench, drifted aimlessly in zero gravity. Somewhere deep in the system's core, a broken PA system occasionally hissed out a garbled melody that sounded suspiciously like a long-dead cleaning bot tries to sing opera. Wrapped in a thermal wrap and his one and only pair of cactus print lounge pants, Eli took a sip from a chip mug labeled Sector's Number 1 Uncle. He wasn't anyone's uncle. He wasn't even sure if he was technically still alive on paper. The only voice he heard these days came from a damaged AI module he'd nicknamed Nibs, short for MBS-7, once a cutting-edge neural companion. Now it mostly offered cooking tips and tried to analyze his dreams. Probability of successful relationship with floating trash. For 0.1%. Nibs chirped from a speaker. Still better than the bartender on Vegas Station, Eli mumbled, gazing through the main viewport. Beyond the glass stretched Ravel's rift, a gigantic gravitational anomaly wrapped in lavender storms and fractured light. The station had once orbited nearby as part of an interstellar diplomacy project, back when Earthlings still got invited to galas. Now, the base didn't even show up on most NAV charts. Even the mice had likely found better places to haunt. Eli stayed because moving felt like effort, and someone had to keep the fusion kettle from threatening to explode in 5 languages. So when the air shimmered and a shape formed with the sound of tearing silk, Eli naturally assumed it was another hallucination. The figure that appeared stood tall and angular, refracting light like heat haze. Her limbs hovered against gravity's pull, and her face, if you could call it that, glittered like a broken prism. "You are Eli Trask," she said, voice crystalline with static undertones. Eli blinked. "Unless you're delivering noodles, I think you got the wrong guy." "I am Alani Rowe," she replied, envoy of the Astral Accord. "I am here for the merging." "The what?" "Merging of psyche and essence. Our Starkin require compatible minds. You were selected." Eli put down his mug, then picked up again to make sure his hand was still real. "Let me check with my assistant. Nibs, am I hallucinating?" "Sadly, no," the AI replied. Ilani stepped closer, eyes shifting like storm glass. "You exhibit optimal traits for resonance alignment." "I haven't worn proper clothes in over a week," Eli replied. "I once proposed to a vending machine because it dispensed my snacks when I kicked it." She tilted her head. "Emotional disarray enhances potential bond. Depression, unresolved trauma, high sarcasm quotient, all favorable." "Oh, great," he muttered. Being a disaster is finally useful. To ease the tension, he tossed her a pack of expired space wasabi. She tasted it and shimmered like jelly under heat. "Pleasurable," she noted calmly. Eli chuckled. "Cool. Guess we're bonding over expired condiments now." They sat in silence for a while. Then Eli asked, "So, what's your vibe? You into screaming into cosmic voids? Sad playlists? Relatable stuff. I enjoy subharmonic oscillations from black holes. I dislike synthetic leather. I once dismantled a comet." "Nice. I once got electrocuted trying to fix a microwave with a spoon." A flicker passed through her form. "Laughter? Static interference? Who knew? You ever think aliens would show up to declare war or cure cancer?" Eli said, "Not emotionally fused with some burnout tech guy." "Destruction is easy," she replied. "Curiosity takes courage." Nibs crackled. Romantic moment detected. Suggests presenting object of emotional value. Eli shrugged, peeled the octopus sticker off the console, and held it out. "This use means something." Ilani accepted it with solemn grace. Later, Ilani floated near the viewport, her silhouette outlined by the rift's glow. Eli, still in his cactus pants, watched her like someone trying to identify an art installation. "About your whole merger idea," he said, "are we sure you mixed me up with some brave pilot or mind warrior?" "No error occurred," she said. You are compatible due to your psychological fragmentation and nonlinear emotional recursion. You mean I'm broken. I mean you are stable. Broken implies an end. You continue. He poured himself a mug of concentrated caffeine sludge. You got weird taste. You survived here, alone. You remain curious. That makes you essential. Okay, he said. Let's run with it. But we're doing this on my terms. First test. Helping me duct tape the botany bay. Accepted, she replied. They worked side by side, and slowly their conversations drifted toward memories. She once consumed the core of a failing star. He told her about Gordo, his childhood pet rock that he swore was alive. By the end of the day, the station didn't feel quite so haunted. Later, the proximity alarm blared, a sound Eli hadn't heard in months. A sleek Accord vessel docked with silent grace. Ilani's kin arrived in radiant robes, judging eyes sweeping over him. Your choice is unstable, one of them declared. He's mine, Ilani replied. His pattern balances my own. They didn't look convinced. Eli, pulling on a stained jumpsuit, spoke up. Then I challenge you to a talent duel. The delegation blinked. So did Ilani. It's how we prove bonds, Eli added. Traditional human custom. Ilani nodded. This is known. I shall recite fractal poetry. Eli sighed. Guess I'll sing. Ilani performed a sonic sequence that made 3 envoys burst into tears. Eli followed, singing about vending machines and toast and existential dread. It was off-key. It was raw. It was real. They won. As they packed to leave the station, Ilani said, The Accord accepts you. The rift has stabilized. So I'm not a walking disaster anymore. Eli asked. No, she said. You are catalyst. A hinge point. A reason. He stared at the rift one last time. Do I still have to do those emotional resonance drills? They're optional, she said, smiling faintly. Cool. I'm allergic to feelings anyway. They boarded the ship. The station faded into black, swallowed by stars. The rift pulsed one last time like a fading heartbeat. And Eli Trask, disheveled, exhausted, maybe even loved, floated into the unknown, not to be saved, not to be redeemed, but simply because someone saw him and stayed. The stars didn't blink. That was the first thing Eli noticed when he stepped off the Accord vessel onto the deck of the transit cruiser, now bound for civilization he'd only ever read about in forgotten PDFs and half-baked mission briefings. Stars didn't twinkle out here. Not really. They held steady. Cold. Brilliant. Unapologetically indifferent. He respected that. Do you require orientation? Ilani asked, hovering beside him with her usual composure, a floating diagram of the ship's layout spinning lazily around her. I require breakfast, Eli replied, and maybe a nap, possibly in that order. You have not slept properly in 312 hours. That explains a lot, he said, rubbing his eyes. Any chance this fancy starbus has a mattress that doesn't try to scan my dreams for data points? Ilani blinked. At least, Eli had come to interpret that particular shift in her fractal geometry as blinking. Our beds are motion neutral. They neither judge nor analyze. He exhaled. Finally, a bed I can trust. The corridors were sleeker than anything he'd walked through in years. No hanging wires. No loose ceiling panels. No mysterious puddles. The air didn't smell like recycle failure. It was sterile, efficient, quiet. Too quiet. He missed the hum of theta. 9 already. Missed the groaning pipes and Nib's broken attempts at stand-up poetry. He even missed the toast that kept drifting past his face like a judgmental bird. Ilani noticed a look on his face. Change is discomforting. Yeah, feels like someone turned the universe off mute. They found a small observation deck toward the rear of the ship. It was empty, save for a few floating meditation stones and a low pulse of ambient light that adjusted a mood. Or maybe just to how much sarcasm Eli was radiating. He pressed his forehead against a window. Space outside looked endless. Not metaphorically. Literally. It just didn't stop. He spoke without thinking. So, what happens to people like me? Define like you, Ilani replied. He shrugged. Washed-up tech guys with social dysfunctions and a tendency to overbond with kitchen appliances. She tilted her head. They become essential, or they vanish. That's comforting. You did not vanish. Eli closed his eyes. I didn't belong on that outpost, you know. I just got stuck. Everyone else moved on. I didn't. Couldn't. You endured. Yeah, but is that the same as living? Ilani didn't answer. Not right away. She let the silence hang, respectful and patient. Survival is a quiet rebellion, she said finally, especially when the universe wants you to stop. He looked at her, really looked. She wasn't just a light show in the shape of a person. Not anymore. There was grace in her movements, sure, but also restraint, effort, choice. She'd stayed when she didn't have to. He didn't want to ask the next question, but he did anyway. Why me, Ilani? For real. No bonding metrics or resonance fields. Just tell me straight. She turned toward the stars. Her form refracted, hues shifting from indigo to deep crimson, like a sunset caught underwater. Because when the rift looked into you, she said, you didn't look away? Most minds fracture. You didn't. You joked. You reached for meaning. That's rare. Eli swallowed. Hard. I thought it was just me being numb. Numbness is a form of endurance. He nodded, eyes misty. You're dangerously close to getting poetic. I've been learning. A beat passed. Then another. I don't know how to be this, Eli admitted. Whatever I am now. Nexus. Hinge. Glorified spark plug for time-space weirdness. You'll figure it out. I usually don't. And yet here you are. A soft tone sounded through the deck. A low chime like wind moving through glass. Ilani straightened. The council has requested your presence. They want to debrief you. Can I lie? They expect it. Well, that's refreshing. She extended a hand. He took it. It felt like dipping his fingers into liquid gravity. As they walked through the corridors, her gliding, him stumbling slightly, they passed by other Accord members. None of them stared. None sneered. They observed, measured, but there was no malice. Ilani paused outside a large door etched with unfamiliar symbols. After this, your path will change again. Yeah, Eli said, but at least now I'm not just floating. You never were, she said softly. You were orbiting something. You just didn't know what. The doors opened. The chamber was wide and domed, like a planetarium had merged with a courtroom and decided to grow mood lighting. The council sat in a circle of light, each member as different from the next as species could be. No identical faces. No symmetry. Just pure variance, organized by intent. Eli stepped forward. No suit. No speech. Just a man in cactus pants and a borrowed jacket that didn't quite fit. The lead delegate. A being made of intertwined coils and light, like someone had sculpted a thunderstorm. Spoke in measured tones. You carry a signature we've not encountered in eons. Not power, not threat, but continuity. Eli glanced at Ilani. She gave a nearly invisible nod. I'm not sure what you all want from me, Eli said, voice steady. But if this is about what happens next, I'm willing to try. I'm not a soldier, or a scientist, or a prophet. I'm just someone who kept going. That is enough, the delegate replied. And just like that, Eli realized he wasn't just surviving anymore. He was choosing. Later, in the ship's quiet quarters, after the debrief, after the diplomatic formalities, after the council acknowledged the bond as valid, Eli found himself staring out at the rift again. It didn't scare him now. It called to him, not as a threat, but as a place of origin. A beginning, not an end. Ilani joined him, holding 2 steaming cups of something that smelled like optimism and regret. She handed one over. No AI to warm it? He asked. No need. They stood there, quiet, watching. I still feel like a toaster with legs, he said. Good. Toasters have purpose, and they burn things when ignored. He laughed, loud and free. Then the ship pivoted slowly, aligning itself with the next starway. The journey would be long, unknown, possibly chaotic. But for the first time in a very long time, Eli Trask didn't feel lost. He felt ready. And somewhere deep in the rift, the universe exhaled.